Talk of Champions, short sessions.
Long story short.
Welcome into another edition of Talk of Champions, short sessions. I'm your host, Zach Berry. We are in the middle of college football season. Ole Miss is doing their damnedest to make things difficult on the college football playoff committee as they try to finish 11-1. But today we are going to shift gears to basketball. Ole Miss opens up, I guess you could say, play this evening. They're in an exhibition game at home, and the season is right around the corner. So who better to have in here to talk Ole Miss hoops, Chris Beard and the Rebels, than Jeff Goodman. He does everything. Writes for Messenger, Field of 68. If you're not familiar with him, you probably don't follow college basketball. He's the man. So he is here with us in studio. Jeff, good morning. How are we doing?
I'm good. I appreciate you having me. And we're getting there. We're getting there. It's almost here.
A lot of exhibitions. It seems like there were a lot of games over the weekend. There were some big time matchups. But just kind of what's the overall vibe for you heading into this 23-24 season, kind of early, Final Four favorites? Who are the teams that you're looking out for the most in the first couple months?
I mean, I think, you look at it in Duke and Kansas are kind of 1A and 1B preseason. Some people have Duke, some people have Kansas. The question about Kentucky, how good are they? They got a ton of freshmen this year. We'll see how good they are. And obviously, last year, seeing FAU and San Diego State get to the Final Four, with the COVID year, it just feels like, again, experience is even more important than ever. Because you have, now you've got 23, 24-year-olds going up against 18-year-old freshmen. That's a huge gap. So I think teams and programs are trying to stay old. And that's where, again, Kentucky being young with this many freshmen would scare the hell out of me if I'm a Kentucky fan.
That's a professional segue from a professional there, talking about experience. Let's get into Ole Miss. They got a good influx of talent from the portal, and then a lot of holdovers from that Kermit Davis roster. Chris Beard and company got into town, quickly mobilized and met with the players, kept a pretty good core from Kermit Davis's group. I will pitch this for our listeners and subscribers. If you haven't checked out the Almanac, please do. It is awesome. It is in depth as anything out there. And they got a full scouting report on Ole Miss. You can read about that. And Jeff and the rest of the folks do a fine job there. But, taking a look at that and just, what are your general thoughts on the mix of portal guys with returning veterans from that Ole Miss team? Even though they weren't good a year ago, guys have played a lot of basketball. How do you think Beard will mesh with this group in year one?
Well, I think so much of it is going to depend on whether their two kids, Brandon Murray and Moussa Cisse, get the two-time waiver, right? And that's obviously huge around the country right now. They went all in with two of these guys, and I think it's about 20% so far of those that try to get a two-time, a second undergrad waiver after transferring, got it. So I think that's going to determine whether Ole Miss is going to be a real factor nationally or not. I think if Beard gets both those dudes eligible, watch out. I wouldn't bet against them because, again, and I've been on the record saying this, like, there aren't many better in the country than Chris Beard as a ball coach in terms of everything he does, right? X's and O's, how to get kids to play hard, how to put his arm around him when he needs to, but also really get up in him and be an old school coach. Again, you get Texas Tech to the national title game. It's one of the greatest accomplishments over the last 20 years in college basketball. And by the way, he also took him to the Elite Eight, and he had Texas prime last year. That was his team. And I'm not sure if he weren't the coach that he couldn't have had them fighting for the championship game playing UConn.
A lot of people that know way more about college basketball than me, like yourself and others around the country, have all echoed that sentiment. He's just a damn good coach. And what he did at Texas Tech, it's amazing. I mean, they went from being virtually, I don't want to besmirch the program, but I mean, they weren't in the top tier in the Big 12, and now they've got a $200 million facility. Grant McCaslin's there. They've got a lot of buzz. People care about basketball there. Do you think that he could, I'm not saying get to the national championship game, but kind of replicate that buzz and that enthusiasm and excitement at Ole Miss?
Yeah, I'm not going to put it past him. I'm not. I mean, I just know how he works, how maniacal he is. And I think he's probably more motivated than ever. I spoke to him recently, and I do. I think he's more driven than ever because of everything that happened and, getting another opportunity at a high level right away, where most of us, didn't necessarily see this coming. You thought he'd have to maybe wait a year or go in at the mid-major level or even the low-major level for a year. But to get this opportunity this quickly, again, he's just so – there aren't many coaches that have the whole package. And by that, I mean they can sell the program. They're willing to go out there and sell the program, connect with people, whether it's students, whether it's money people, which is important now with NIL, with the players, with administration, and then you add in the recruiting and the coaching. There just aren't many of them anymore. You might have some young dudes who are coming in who can really recruit, or unproven coaches. You may have a lot of the older guard that are on their way out now that obviously can coach, but they don't want to recruit like Beard does. They don't want to get after it like he does, where he's working literally, 18, 20 hours a day. That's just like how he knows, all he knows.
So we touched on it a little bit ago about the core. Couple key guys that he really latched onto when he got the gig: Jamin Brakefield, Matthew Morrell. Two very different types of players, but guys that have played a lot of basketball and have got some real, buzz to them in terms of, playing a lot of minutes and being leaders on this team. I sense that he is going to lean on those two guys early. Brakefield's kind of been like his right-hand man on campus when they host prospects and, do a lot of media ops and stuff around town. Just how good do you think this team, I know you talked about you wouldn't put it past him to create a bunch of buzz, but how good do you think they can be in year one, with or without Cisse and Murray?
I mean, without, I would say they're a fringe tournament team. With, I think they could be an Elite Eight team. I really do. I wouldn't put it past them. Again, he's used to dealing with new teams too. I mean, that a lot of these coaches right now are frustrated because they're having to deal with obviously the transfer portal going crazy. And with Beard, he's been used to this for a while. Maybe not the amount of, although Little Rock, he had like 12 guys, I think. But like Texas Tech and Texas might not have been quite as many new guys. Obviously, everybody's new to him right now. So I think he's a little bit more adept at figuring this thing out than a lot of other coaches are, and just being good with it, accepting it, buying into it. So I think, again, like, to me, I think Brandon Murray's huge, though. I just think he's huge. Cisse is big, too, but they got Sharp as another, big shot-blocking dude. I don't even know how Sharp and Cisse, if you play them together, how they'll be together, because neither are great offensively. So I honestly think you probably got to split them for the most part. Maybe they can play, 5-10 minutes game together, but for the most part, you're going to want to play them separately. Where Brandon Murray, to me, is just a big-time, guard, score, who can play some point. My biggest concern with them is at the point guard position. That, to me, is what I think could hold them back, even if they get Murray eligible. I'm not sure he's the answer at the point, but Beard's done it with questionable point guard play before.
We've all been there before. A weekend trip to the casino canceled because real life came calling. Well, MyBookie's new and improved online casino is here to change the game. Dive into a truly realistic casino experience featuring the latest in slots, progressive jackpots, and live dealer action, all from the comfort of your own home. Take advantage of weekly blackjack tournaments and a brand new collection of high-end games for a chance at real cash rewards. The MyBookie Casino provides a Las Vegas experience when the action's in your hands. And the best part is you don't even need to wear pants. Your adventure at the MyBookie Casino begins today with a generous sign-up bonus using promo code TOC for Talk of Champions, TOC. That's promo code TOC to secure yourself a sweet deposit bonus. And that's not all, because their revamped loyalty program ensures that you'll be showered with rewards, including free spins, cashback offers, and a host of exclusive VIP perks. The more you play, the more you win. Play anytime, anywhere with the MyBookie Casino. And make sure to check out MyBookie for all your gaming needs at www.mybookie.ag. That's www.mybookie.ag.
You mentioned that, and I know that was a big concern for a lot of folks when looking at this team and factoring in how good of a coach Beard is, and then with the returning production from last year mixed with the portal. They go out and get a guy and Jalen Murray, who played a lot of basketball at St. Peter's. He's been in March. Yep. He's been in those big situations. He could play a factor. What about Alan Flanagan? He coach's son. Before the injury, he was really explosive and a big part of Bruce Pearl's group at Auburn. Where do you see him kind of falling in line in this group, and how good do you think he can be at a new spot, fresh start after the injury?
No, I mean, I think, again, like he's going to be a key piece for this team, because he's got some experience and he is talented. So I think no, I don't know if they do, but I think they've got pretty good depth and not much disparity. If you look at it again, I think Murray, especially from like 1 to 9, I think they got like 9 dudes who can play.
Mm-hmm.
Which is rare right now. But again, for the most part, they're older. They got a couple freshmen here, but I don't know how much he's going to rely on those guys. I think he's going to rely on the holdovers and the transfers for the most part, and unless again the 2 guys aren't eligible, which we just don't know where that's going to be. So I think that's critical for this year. But again, listen, this is year one. This is year one. To me, you're talking about a plan here in place, and I know Beard doesn't have patience. He wants to win right away. But can you get this thing to where it's like what Bruce Pearl did at Auburn, what Beard did at Texas Tech? Those were not great jobs. When I mean, Pearl, they were both terrible jobs. Really, they were. I mean, Auburn was terrible. Texas Tech wasn't terrible, but it didn't have a lot of energy to it. Beard's going to bring energy, and I think, again, he's going to build this thing to sustain it. And he's shown that, like, again, he doesn't really fit. Like Texas, he went to school there, but I think he fits Ole Miss and Texas Tech better than he fits Texas, if you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Underdog, counted out, kind of has an edge to him.
Like chipping your shoulder. Yeah, an edge. Absolutely. Texas does not have that edge to him. Like everybody looks down on Texas in a way because, they look at him as like spoiled, arrogant, all that. Like, that's not Beard. Beard's the other way. He's the junior college coach. He's the guy that wants people to say you're not good enough, you don't have enough talent, and he wants to prove people wrong.
So if we fly the drone up 1,000 feet, looking at this from a broader scope, where do you see this Ole Miss program next year, 2 years down the road? They won a lot with Andy Kennedy, couldn't get over the hump too many times. That they had the SEC tournament championship title, Marshall Mania, all that. They get almost to the Sweet 16. Where do you see Beard in a couple years at Ole Miss, and how do you see this program fitting into a super competitive SEC?
So I would say, again, a big part of it right now in that league is going to be tied to NIL. Because obviously you have some programs right now, look at Rick Barnes has got NIL. We know Kentucky's got it. Arkansas's got it. Alabama's got it. Auburn's got it. I mean, they all have it because they're football, right? For the most part, they all have it. So where does Ole Miss stack up from a basketball perspective to some of the hoop schools in the SEC? Because if he's not there, again, he can outcoach a lot of guys. He can outcoach them. But it's hard to outcoach like Eric Musselman, Bruce Pearl. Those guys are really good. Nate Oates. Those guys are really good coaches.
Mhm.
So I think you're going to have to be on an even playing field with some of those schools, and it depends. Like how's their collective now? Can they get some of these other top transfers next year? They got them this year, but again, part of the reason they got Murray and Cisse was because a lot of other schools were like, we're not rolling the dice on these kids. We don't think they're going to be eligible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've seen like, Georgia's making some big runs at kids in recruiting right now, and I think Todd Golden's going to do a great job at Florida. He's a hell of a young coach, and he's aggressive on the recruiting trail. So yeah, that's big. And I'm talking to people around Oxford. Beard's been just hustling. I mean, as aggressive as anybody in building the brand and getting the word out on NIL. So I think it helps him that the AD is a former basketball player. Keith Carter is
100%,
wants to win big. I mean, that's why they went and hired Chris Beard. They take it serious. So, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, how you stack up against everyone else, because spoiler alert, everybody in the SEC cares about basketball now. So it's a big time conference now. All right, so I guess last thing here, and again, I appreciate the time, Jeff. You this is awesome, and you're you're as busy as anyone in the business. But kind of looking at the conference in tiers, where does Ole Miss stack up against? You mentioned, Kentucky with all their talent, and Arkansas and Bama and Bruce Pearl and Auburn. Where do you think Ole Miss will fall in year one? And if we got 3 tiers, which one do you think they're in?
Probably in the middle, but I don't, it's hard to say right now. Again, because there's so much turnover. It's like I have no idea what to think of this Kentucky team. Like I'm not completely in on them because again, they're too young for me. Alabama lost a ton. Like I don't know how good Grant Nelson's. He was a star at the mid-major level. Aaron Estrada was a star at the mid-major level. I don't know what those guys are going to do in the SEC. Arkansas, I think they're going to be pretty good, but they always take time because he's got so many new guys again. It's never been more difficult to try to figure out preseason prognostications as it is right now. It's almost dumb. But again, you got to do it because people want to read it. What else are they going to read in the preseason? Like they want to know what you think so they can call you a moron later, which is not very hard to do with me. I would put him in the middle to be conservative right now. I would put him smack in the middle and just say, like, listen, I think they have a shot, certainly, to hang on one second. Got a train going here. I think the bridge is going up as I'm driving to pick up my wife. Literally, the thing came down, and I was on the wrong side of it, but I just got through it. So that's good. So you may have to edit this out.
Yeah, it's all good.
It's up to you. I think there's somewhere, like I said, somewhere in the middle. But Beard, generally when I do rankings, right, I do them based on personnel first, and then I'll move up teams based on their coach or move them down based on their coach. And again, generally, I would, when Beard was at the end of Texas Tech and at Texas, I would move him up like 5 spots. So if I thought Beard had the 15th best talent in the country, I'd be ranking him 10th. Where there are other coaches, like honestly, I'll move Kentucky down generally a couple spots. I don't think Calipari's that great a coach. I think he's a hell of a recruiter, but you take their talent and then you say, all right, like Cal coaching them, I just don't know if I completely buy into him as an X's and O's guy. Beard to me is much better in that regard. So I think, again, what I would say is I know it's a football school, but it can be both. Ole Miss can be both. And Beard's going to get this thing going. And when he does, he's going to connect with his students. And it would not shock me. When I went, how about this? I would say Texas Tech's fan base. When I went 2 games in Lubbock. One was Kentucky and one was Beard's return through Lubbock. They were among the best crowds that I've seen in the last 10 years. They were that good.
Wow.
So, yeah, what he did there was not only phenomenal on the court, but what he did there off the court was ridiculous. To be able to get them, and those fans were rabid, like they were crazy. Like I was there before the game when he came back. I think it was that one. Like they had out there the night before, they had big screen TVs, people just drinking, beer trucks, food trucks, everybody out there all night. Like I would love it if he could get that going at Ole Miss, because it'd be fun. Again, what it is like to tailgate for football there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why can't it be? I'm not going to say it's the same, but can it be an experience to go to a basketball game there? And I think he could probably make it into one.
Yeah, it's a fan base that, oddly enough, is very passionate about basketball when the team contends and when they're fun. And I think that he's going to build them in a fun group to watch. And I think they can contend if they can get everybody eligible and play his brand that he likes to play. So it's going to be an exciting season. They certainly have the arena for it now. They're not in the Tad Pad anymore. They're in a brand new building that is built for somebody like him. So, well, Jeff, this has been fun. Before I let you go, please tell the folks where they can find all your stuff and keep up with you this season.
Yeah, the easiest way is probably just to follow me on Twitter, probably at Goodman Hoops. All my stuff's there. You can, make fun of me, call me names, whatever you want to do. I don't think Ole Miss fans will, because again, I think anybody who's followed college basketball, followed me, knows what a huge fan of Chris Beard that I've been as far as what he's been able to do. I mean, I've known him for 20 years, and this would be a pretty unbelievable redemption story if he's able to kind of do it as quickly as I think he's going to be able to do.
All right, that's Jeff Goodman at Field of 68. Messenger, you can find all of his stuff at both of those spots. Like he said, follow him on Twitter at Goodman Hoops. They have so much content throughout the season. It's going to be a fun one for Ole Miss fans to follow along. And we appreciate his time today on this Talk of Champions short session. So thanks to Jeff. Thanks to you, the listener, for tuning in. And as always, thank you to the sponsors that make it possible. We will have more basketball content as opening night is almost here. And like I said, tonight, 7 p.m. exhibition against Tusculum at the Pavilion. So for Jeff over there, I'm Zach. This has been Talk of Champions short sessions. Till next time, we out.